Hello and thank you for watching the Unwrap Success software training video. We're hoping to make this as quick, as painless as possible, and at the same time be as thorough as possible. What we're going to be doing is reviewing the online tax software. That's right, online. So anything that has internet, you can run this software on. It's incredibly easy to use, incredibly user-friendly, and I think you'll enjoy it very much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to log in. The way that you log in is you're going to open an internet browser. We prefer Chrome. If you don't use Chrome, you can use Firefox or Internet Explorer, but definitely prefer Chrome. So you go to unwrap.cloudtaxoffice.com, and up pops this screen here. The username and login that we're using for training purposes, just so you can kind of get in and get your feet wet, is training 15, training 15. That's for username and password. Again, the website is unwrap.cloudtaxoffice.com. So you're going to come in here, type in training 15 initially, and click login. When you log in, you're going to be greeted by welcome to your tax office. In this case, it's our training Unwrap Success training office. And this is what you're going to see. Right down the line, you can see that everything's clearly labeled, very self-explanatory with an explanation under it. So start a new tax return, create a brand new tax return for a client, client search, edit returns you've previously created. Review returns, this would be for your managers or the owners of the office to go in and review the returns that other preparers had gotten to the review status. Not allowing them to actually transmit to IRS, but you put some eyeballs on it before it goes to the IRS to provide quality assurance. Configuration, something that we would do at the beginning of season, set up all your preparers, your security templates, billing, and other profile information. We would set that up and wouldn't have to go back in there really at all during the tax season. It's kind of one of those set it and forget it type menu options. Reports, this is where you can go in and check on the status of different things. You can run revenue reports. Most people only have access to this if they are a owner or a manager, and if you had set it up so that the security template didn't allow them to access this information, then it wouldn't even appear on their screen. So you don't have to worry about people clicking on it and then it's saying you don't have access. It wouldn't even be there for them to know that they don't have access to it. Same thing with printing checks. This is something generally reserved for managers or owners, and they would then print out the taxpayer's check in the event of an ERC product. Or this upcoming season, we will be giving you more information on it, but there is a credit product to offer to the taxpayer as well. So that's exciting news. We also have 4 years worth of software available in the software. We have the current year up here at the top, and then the 3 prior years, so 11, 12, and 13. For the upcoming season, this will be 12, 13, 14, and then for 2015 tax returns. Like I said, we want to spend the majority of our time in a tax return. For those of you that don't have experience in doing taxes, the thought of doing tax returns just seems so crazy and complex and difficult. It's really not. 2 reasons. One, you're doing the same thing over and over again. So once you've gone through it and you become accustomed to it, it becomes very simple. And secondarily, the software is incredibly easy to use. If you slow things down in your mind and just take a couple of extra seconds to read the screen that's presented in front of you, you will make it through it fine, accurately, and be in good shape. So we've designed the software to be more of an interview format. For those of you that are experienced tax preparers, don't roll your eyes at me yet. We also have the ability for you to jump through and really pound out tax returns very quickly using the form finder mode and the not using the guide me functionality. Basically, I'll do it myself. So with that being said, we're going to start a new tax return. Click select over here on the right hand side. It's going to give us a warning about our 7216. We won't delve into that too much. It's just a form you get signed right off the bat. And from here, it's going to look for a, pop us to our account creation screen, which allows us to double enter the taxpayer social. So a test range, the IRS has created a test range of Social Security numbers, and it's basically 4 followed by 4 zeros, and then any other 4 numbers. So that lets us know that this is a sample return. So we encourage you, when you are doing returns, either in your test database or when you get your office login, if they are sample tax returns, please use the 40000 and then any 4 character or digits that you decide, and then we'll know that those are sample tax returns and can be removed to not clutter your database when we get into tax season. Again, 40000, any other 4 numbers, and those would be categorized as practice tax returns. So if you are in season and you've used this software before, you re-enter a client's social, it's going to say, hey, I know that guy, and it's going to pull up their prior year info. If they aren't in the database, then it's going to say, I'm sorry, you're starting from scratch. Don't worry about it though, the software is incredibly easy to use and enter the information. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we're starting at our basic information. This is what's highlighted. And this is the section that we're at. So the program works very much like you're taught to read it from childhood. You work from top to bottom and you work from left to right. Okay? And what are we looking at currently? Well, we're in filing status. Select your filing status. If you don't know what to click, you don't have the skills or the knowledge to ask the appropriate questions, we built that skill and that knowledge into the filing status wizard. So you'll ask a couple questions, answer yes, no, and it'll tell you whether you're head of household, single, married, filing, joint, or any of the others. Something to point out real quick. Si habla español. If you are a Spanish-speaking individual or more comfortable in Spanish, you can switch the entire screen from English to Spanish with one click of your mouse. I'm not going to do that now because I don't speak Spanish, so we won't do that. We're going to click head of household, very common filing status, and meaning you're going to have a couple of dependents attached to that. Click continue. From here, we're going to jump to our personal information. This would be our personal info. Go to our date of birth, when were you born, something like that. And we'll just jump. And what are you in occupation? We're in sales. These statuses aren't commonly used, but if you are going to be claimed on somebody else's tax return, so you're a 19-year-old college student, your parents are still claiming you, but you still need to file a return, you would then check that. If you're a student, click there. If you're blind, somebody passed away, unfortunately, go ahead and select the deceased and so forth. This would be our address information. And we're going to Hialeah, Florida. Sure, we'll put in Miami. They don't have state tax, just like in Tennessee. So we'll go right there. We're going to go ahead and click continue once we've completed that. From here, it will take us to our dependents section. Do you have dependents? Here's what a dependent's categorized as. And we're going to say, yes, we do. We're going to type in our dependent, go to inf, it pulls the last name forward. If it's a different last name than the taxpayer, you would just type over the top of it. What's the date of birth? Social Security number, something like that. And relationship son, lived with me for 12 months. Now, if they're a full-time student or disabled, and you check this, it's going to ask you to enter what's the type of disability that the dependent suffers from. And then further on in the software, it's going to ask you, do you have evidence to back that up? If you're saying they're a full-time student, if they're under a certain age, you don't really need to say they're a full-time student. But go ahead and click here. Go to continue. From there, it's going to ask me, do you have an additional dependent? If not, it's going to take me down to the federal section. So we're just going to say that there's 2 of us in the household, myself and one other. And then it takes me down to my federal section. So we went from basic to federal. Now in the federal section, this is basically outlining the 1040. the main form of the tax return initially. And so you start off with your income. From income, it'll take you to deductions, other taxes, payments, estimates, miscellaneous form. Now, like I said, the program has two different modes. I'm going to do it myself, and I know what I'm talking about. And I would like a little more assistance guide me format. So enter myself or guide me. You also have the ability just to come up here and type in your form numbers. If you type in a W-2, it'll take you there. If you type in a 1099, it's going to pull up a giant list of all the 1099s, all the forms associated with that input. So let's say for a second, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go through my income myself. I hit enter myself, and up pops my income input screens. So I've got my W-2, most commonly used federal form line. So this is on your 1040, if you're looking at the actual IRS form, this is basically line 7 through line 21. So we'll say we have a W-2. You click begin, takes me in. Looks very similar to what you're looking at. It's a little bit different than the form, but everything's there. We do have an EIN database, so as you enter in your employer information, it will store it, and then you don't have to type it every time. You just type the 98764 or whatever the EIN is, and it will pull in there for you. We're going to put in our wages. It's going to take me right over my withholdings, and we're going to say that we had $3,250 in withholdings. We had some retirement 401k contributions, 500 bucks. And we don't have a state return or state withholding, so we're just going to click continue. And we're going to watch our federal refund calculate. Now, something to note about this refund over here, this is basically making the assumption that you are going to qualify for all of your credits. So at this point, if you enter in more income, less income, it will change that and adjust the refund up and down. Also, depending at the end of the return, you're going to answer some questions for earned income tax credit, because that is being calculated right now, just because I kind of know how the earned income tax table works. So we know that that's in here. You're going to have to fill out the 8867 correctly in order to stay qualified for that credit. So from here, if I click continue, it's going to take me back to my income screen. A very common thing to have is if you're working or doing the return for somebody that's self-employed, somebody that runs a construction company or has a child care business or lawn care or whatever it is, you're going to go in here and you're going to do a profit and loss from a business. Schedule C. Go ahead and click begin. And it's going to ask you for some basic information. Now you don't have to enter in all this if they don't have it. The only thing that you're going to use down here at the bottom is their business description. You can type it in, or you can actually search a database to find the exact match and code for it. Now if they do have a business name, or I'd say if they don't have a business name, it'll use their individual name and their social security number as their business identifier and their home address as their business address. So if we look for a business code and let's just say drinking places, alcoholic, no, we're going to go to, what do we do? We are agents and managers for artists. So we are an agent, and the business name is Agent Services. Click continue. Work out of our house. And this is the basic layout of a Schedule C. If you were to look at the IRS form, the way that it reads from top to bottom is it's broken up into these major sections. You got your business kind of heading, then you've got questions about your business. 99% of the time, you don't need to touch those. We've already defaulted them to the most common responses, but you can go in and look at it. Was your business at risk? How did you do your accounting, and so forth? Nothing real exciting in there. From there, you could go to your income. Tell me about the money you made. What were your gross receipts for sale? Well, we had, I don't know, we had one client we didn't do too well, and we had $1,000 in other income for some consulting work. Click continue. And then you have your cost of goods sold if you're manufacturing or distributing or a particular good or service or good. You have to put in your cost of goods sold. Most commonly, it's general expenses. Now, what did it cost you to produce the revenue that you did? Well, I had some advertising, and it was $250, and I had commissions and fees. I paid that guy for a referral, and I had my attorney build those contracts, and didn't have an office space. I worked out of my house. I had some supplies, paper toner, and whatnot, and that's going to be $500. We had to do a lot of driving. Actually, we'll leave that alone. We'll show you driving in another spot. I don't know if there's any licensing requirements for that, but we'll fill that in and we click continue. So you're going to see as I enter my expenses, it changes my refund up or down. But we did do a lot of driving. So you have car and truck expenses, its own item here. And you go in here and you click car and truck expense, begin. And the vehicle was I drive a truck, so it's a Ford F-150. And the date placed in service was the beginning of the year. So we worked this business for the whole year. I used this truck for the whole year, and I drove 5,000 business miles, 1,500 personal miles, and 3,000 other miles. Now, I'd ask you a couple questions down here. Check if you or your spouse have another vehicle available for personal use. Yes, I do. And all of these I have answers for. Click continue. And there you go. You've just written off all your miles. You're going to want to make sure you've got a mileage log or a business credit card that you've only used for gas and other, basically a way to document and justify this information in the event of an audit that your taxpayers provided you. Click continue. And if you have any other income, you can go in here and oh, sorry, we're still in the Schedule C. We'll back out of the Schedule C. We'll get back into our income menu, and if we had any other income from whatever source, we would grab it here, or we could go up here to the form number and just type it in. So from here, I'm just going to say we're good. We click continue, and it's going to take me over to my deductions, right? Moving across the page, just like we read. In this case, I want to make sure that I don't miss any deductions that this person can take. We put in all of their income, so we need to make sure that they get all their deductions. Well, I'm not going to trust myself with that. Let's let the program kind of guide me. And we click on Guide Me. And it would ask us the questions. Do you have any deductions related to you or your family? Child dependent care cost or an income credit adoption expense? Yes, we did. While I was working my business and while I was at work, I had dependent care expenses. So I'm going to go ahead and input those. So this is Form 2441. We need to put in our child care provider who watched them. It was a person. And here's their social. Got to have their social. And the provider's last name was Grandma. Oops, Grandma, and she's loved. We paid her. And we paid her the amount of $3,000. Click continue. From here, we need to now associate this $3,000 to the dependent. So we need to say that it was for this dependent. And this reason being, the reason for the necessity to associate it is in case you had 3, 4, 5 dependents on the tax return, but you had only paid it for the baby of the family. You didn't pay it for the other kids. You would need to designate which kid the money was spent for. And we'll continue, and we'll continue. And that's all we needed to do for that. If we continue on, it's going to ask us about the other two pieces. We're going to skip this for now. We're going to skip this for now. And we'll go on to our next portion. Do you own a home? Did you own a home? Then you get real estate tax deductions, mortgage insurance paid deductions, mortgage interest credit, first-time homebuyer repayment. If you borrowed back in, 2009, 10, they gave you some money. The Fed gave you some money. You have to pay it back over time. We're going to skip this section, but you get the idea, right? It's going to take you through. It's going to be very thorough and help you fill out all of these questions appropriately. So then we're going to jump to the next section, which is health insurance. Health insurance introduction, the Affordable Care Act. A lot of people messed this up last year. It was new. It was difficult to reconcile. The 1095As came in. But this is a very simple process once you get through it. Question is, do you or your family have health insurance at any time during 2014? Of course we did. We went on healthcare.gov. We filled all the information out. We signed up with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida in this case, and everything was good to go. Did you purchase healthcare insurance via healthcare.gov or a state marketplace? Yes. Verify your household members. Both of these people were on the policies. We click continue. Was the entire household insured for all 12 months? If the answer is no, then you're going to receive a penalty. Last year it was up to $280 or 1 or 2% of your income if you're a high wage earner. Did you receive money in advance? So a premium tax credit, advanced premium tax credit, which would be stated here on a 1095A. What this says is, did you use the government's money to help pay for some of your premium, which you qualified for? You had to submit the information, and if you made more money this year than you told them you were going to make, and you received more of an advanced premium tax credit than you deserved, they'll pull a little bit out of your federal refund. And vice versa, if you made less than you said you were going to make, then they'll actually credit you back some of the premium that you had to pay out of pocket, because now you fall into a different bracket. So we're going to say no, we didn't. We paid all of our health insurance premiums out of pocket just to make my life easier. And did you receive an exemption certificate from the marketplace? No. You would ask your taxpayer that, and you're done. So that's really all that's to it. If you did receive a 1095A or you took the advanced premium tax credit, you would have to fill out a couple more. There's 2 or 3 more steps in order for you to be done with that. So from here, we don't have a state return. If you did have a state return, Tennessee does not. You can see it right there. Florida does not. Nevada, Texas. So you would just skip this section. We would go to summary and print. Summary is going to give us a high-level breakdown of kind of what happened. At any time during the tax return, you can actually go in and under helpful tools print a copy of the tax return. So if you want to see kind of how everything's flowing out on the return, what your calculated tax prep fees are, want to use a quick little calculator to punch in some, do some receipt additions or what have you, you can go in and do that. Now when you come in here, if you want to make sense of what happened on the return, you can actually come in here and just show the details. You can see that we had $1,700 worth of profit on the consulting business or the agent business, and we had $25,000 in our W-2. You add those together, and then you adjust, blah, blah, blah. You get this. Now we come down and we see we get some credits. What did we get? How did this break out? Standard deductions and so forth. And then you come down to your payments, and you can see that we had earned income of $1,780. So it just kind of gives you a breakdown. And at the end of the day, here's your gross refund. This is not less fees. So this isn't you getting paid. This is without you getting paid what the taxpayer would be receiving. So now we got to actually answer all the questions for that earned income credit. We saw that we had $1,700 of earned income credit calculated. We need to now justify that we are eligible for that money. So was the taxpayer a non-resident alien any part of the year? Answer being no. The next section is the taxpayer, spouse, qualifying child, another person? No, that's my kid. Did you complete this based on yes, 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 yes? You'd want to ask these questions. You'd want to take notes. You would want to take copies of IDs. You'd want to do everything you're supposed to do to comply with EIC requirements. So I'm going to want to make sure to take this form seriously. Did you keep the records found below? Yes, I did. Who provided you the information? The taxpayer or spouse. What documents did they bring in to confirm the existence of their business? and the income associated with it. If they're just making stuff up and you're putting it on the tax form, that used to be acceptable, but now you got to get the documents, bank statements, bookkeeping statements, a P&L, profit and loss statement, something. And a lot of times you can make some extra money by consulting with them and helping them reconstruct that information from receipts and from bank statements and so forth and credit cards, and actually justify a higher fee. Did they have a business license? Did they have the Form 1099? Make a copy of it. Is this child currently or intended to be a qualifying child on any other individual's tax returns? No, they are mine. What documents do you have to validate residency? Well, we have a healthcare provider statement. We know that grandma took care of her, and she can write a page. This is the e-file page. This is commonly referred to as where I get paid page. You put in your fees or your calculated fees. Now, very important, under the federal return type, we need to decide with our taxpayer how they are going to receive back their funds. Now, if it's an electronic mail, you're literally putting a postage stamp on it. And no, sorry, this is just an e-file, and you need to collect money from them up front. This is direct deposit. This means the money's going into their bank account directly. This is, sorry, electronic mail is if they're receiving a check directly from the IRS. You're e-filing the return. You need to take your money up front. Direct deposit would be they're getting their money direct deposited by the IRS, but it's a regular e-file. Again, this would be a cash, check, or credit card transaction. Very difficult having to get money from the person up front, as opposed to using one of these three options: the SBTPG Diamond Card, if you have the debit card in your office, printing a check for them. It's probably 65 to 70% of people receive the check. 30% receive the RT direct deposit into their bank account, and the other amount would be, the Diamond Card. It's about a 5 to 7% take rate nationally. Paper return, not common. You're printing it out, mailing it in, waiting 6+ weeks to get your refund back. So we're going to say that we're doing an RT check. We're going to print it out in the office. We click next. We're going to put in our prep fee. Currently, we don't have a fee schedule in there. We'll say it's $350. We charge $25 for e-file, and we move down the page. If we have an email for the customer, I highly recommend getting it, because at the end of the tax return, instead of printing it out for them, you can email it to them. We're going to click next. We're going to say yes there. We're going to click next here. We're going to put in their ID type. We're going to put in the ID number. We're going to put in the issue date. We're going to put in the expiration date. And we're going to put in the state. We're doing Florida here. And were they a citizen, country, USA. Yes, we've seen their information. We verified all their info. We click next, and we click save. From here, we're going to go into our e-file page or our print page, depending on your permissions, what you're able to do. You can print a copy for the customer. Before you do that, getting the documents signed is incredibly important for your personal liability, for your safety, for your record keeping and compliance with the IRS. So what we've done is we built in a digital signature. If you're using a tablet with a touch screen, a computer with a touch screen, or a phone, they can click on this button and they can sign using their finger. If you're not using one of those things, you would then pass them the mouse and have them sign with the mouse. If they're not happy with the signature, clear it and go ahead. Yep, that's what they wanted. Click save, and it will apply that signature to all of the forms when you print them. Very, very cool. If you are done with the return, you can verify your fees are accurate and so forth. You mark the return complete, and if you have the capability, you would then mark the return for review. If there was a referral that came in, you can click on referral, and you can say it was a radio advertisement. And it will track that information so you can run reports and know how you're best spending your marketing budget. And then you can also click that it's ready for review. So if you're a preparer in an office, your preparer in your office would not see this save and transmit return to IRS. During your training mode, while you're in training 15 or you're doing sample returns, please do not select this save and transmit to IRS, because you will be sending junk data on your EFIN to the IRS, and they will be looking at you a little silly. So don't do that. For practice returns, please do save and exit return. This return, because I've marked it ready for review, will actually show up in my review return tab for me to go in and review it, and then have a manager review it and then send it on its way. So as you can see from my client search, I should only have one file in here. We just started this account, Training 15. And this is where you'll kind of follow up on your returns. You would be able to search for your returns by name, phone number, preparer. You can search for them by status. So if they were rejected by the IRS, you can see all your rejects real quick just by clicking here. If it's marked for review, you want to see all your returns that need to be reviewed or approved. They're complete. And then accepted would be another status that you would see. I can click in here and I can select option. I can attach my scanned documents. So if you're out in the field and you're using your phone to do returns, you can actually take pictures and use your picture library to upload those documents. Or if you're using the questionnaire, you can just take the questionnaire and attach it to the return completed if you're scanning it back in. Okay? And so when you come back into this return and you look at your scanned documents, you'll see that you got your questionnaire in here. You're almost done. Please fill out this information real quick. Okay? Very cool. Oops. We can also email the return to them directly. Just click email return, and if you provided an email address in the return, it should pop here. I don't think I did that on the client data stream. So you would put in email at email.com. And I don't know if we set this up to show who it's coming from either, but there would be a default. This would be taxoffice at gmail.com or whatever email you use. And then you would simply click send email, and it would send it right out of the system. No need for you to actually go in and print the return. So it'll send them a password protected PDF using the last four of their social as the encryption key. So you would need to tell them that you used that as the encryption key. What else do we have in here? We have, let's see real quick. Anything else we need to cover? You can print a copy here. Deactivate, you don't want to do this. Deactivate would be, I want to erase this and it cannot be recovered. If somebody does that in the office, there is a report of deactivated returns, so it's not like they're being real slick and sly. You can catch them if they are deactivating returns for the purpose of taking cash and not reporting it to the office. So for office administrators and managers, you can see that information. Privacy settings, no, change prepare, that's a permission set. No, I think we covered everything that we needed to at this point. So hopefully you saw that doing a tax return in this system is incredibly easy to do. You don't have to be all that familiar with the IRS forms or the rules or regulations. The program is really going to prompt you through and make sure that you're entering accurate information. If you do make a mistake and leave a mandatory field blank on the tax return, it doesn't matter, because the program's going to tell you that, hey, you screwed up here, go back and fix it. So you're not going to be sending inaccurate information to the IRS in the sense that it's not filled out in the software. So hopefully we covered a lot of information for you. We did it pretty quickly. We're just over 35 minutes, and I appreciate your time. I look forward to working with you this year, and thank you very much. Have a great year.